What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. As you can tell, we have the Gladiator here behind me for possibly what could be the last rounds of upgrades for it. We might be getting rid of the Gladiator, but we will talk about that towards the end of the video. But for those of you who are interested, Race Jeep is still under reconstruction. So we broke the front axle out at King of the Hammers. Luckily, Advanced Driveline is warrantying the axle, and it should be here in the next couple of days. But that only gives us 1 week to put all of this back together to go race out at Crossbar for one of the Ultra 4 regional races. So fingers crossed that everything comes here in time and we can put it back together. But in the meantime, there's a little round of upgrades that we can do to the Gladiator. Parts that have been sitting around here in the shop for a while that we definitely need to throw on. They're definitely geared towards more of the off-road side, protecting some critical components on the Gladiator for those of you who like to take it off-road in the rocks, etc. So we're gonna start off with some lower control arm brackets from Out of Hand Fabrication. These are made in the USA, 1/4 inch steel, powder coated, bolt-on, lower control arm skid plate brackets. The Gladiator has a very long wheelbase, and unfortunately, the factory brackets are pretty thin and prone to damage. I've actually mangled this one up quite a bit, as you can tell. So I wish I would have done these a little bit sooner. Pretty easy to put these on, and it offers a nice layer of protection from slamming this up against rocks. Now these are gonna work with aftermarket adjustable control arms, factory control arms. It really doesn't matter. As long as you haven't done a rear long arm suspension, these are gonna work. So let's set the camera down and get these installed. By no means is it rocket science, but definitely an affordable way to protect and preserve your Jeep for those of you who enjoy hitting the trails, literally hitting the trails. All right, let's get this on. The first step of the install is going to be removing the bolt and dropping our lower control arm. We're gonna need a 15/16 wrench and a 21mm socket to zap this thing out of there. Now there might be a chance that the axle will shift around a little bit, so we're gonna grab our jack, throw it under the pinion. That way it'll kind of prevent our pinion from rotating down. I don't know, Out of Hand Fab, their instructions say to ratchet strap the axle. Might be a good idea. We're gonna find out. Oh man. Well, here's a clear example as to why you might want to throw these brackets on. You can see how bent this is, but our bracket is actually bent in towards the end here, and I can't even get our control arm out of there. The joint's kind of stuck in there. So I'm gonna have to bend this back, and luckily these brackets will prevent future damage like this. There we go. That's better. So we're gonna grab some of the hardware out of our bag here. Then we're gonna grab our bracket and just pretty much line it up with these 2 bolts in the frame here. We are going to rotate our arm up in, just like that, and then install the upper bracket bolt. And now that we have our control arm in the pocket, both of these are still loose. Hopefully our axle didn't shift around too much, which it did not. So I would say it's easier just to jack the pinion up. And if you do need to, make the bolt move around, you can either lower the pinion or jack up the pinion, or like they say, use ratchet straps to pull everything around. So we should slide that back in and tighten everything up. And just like that, we now have a bracket that's gonna protect our bracket, strengthen it up, and box the bottom in so we're not damaging our control arm joint. Our passenger side bracket is installed and finished. We have a nice little skid plate ramp. The bottom's boxed in, and everything looks good. As you can tell, pretty easy to bolt these on. It literally took about 5 minutes. We're gonna knock out this other side and then move on to the other upgrade, which isn't necessarily as easy. It's not bolt-on. They do have some bolt-on options out there, but we're gonna be talking about Frameside sway bar brackets. Very common to bend or break on the Gladiator, and there are a ton of bolt-on options just like this to kind of beef it up and protect it, but if yours is already broken, you're gonna have to weld a new bracket on. We're about to tackle that. But first, I gotta go pee. TMI? Probably so. Does it matter? No. So I popped the wheel and tire off so we can get a closer look at what we're doing here. And it might not be completely obvious with the GoPro, but the whole mount, the bolt bent upwards. So first thing we're gonna have to do is get access to this little clip up here so we can move our brake line out of the way. We're gonna pop this off. Move this out of the way as far as possible. These brackets are very thin, and with the bolt being in single shear, it's easy to bend the mount or completely splinter it down the middle. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, there's quite a few brackets that tie into the frame and reinforce this, which is a great idea as long as yours is not bent. But once it's bent, I would highly suggest going with a completely new mount. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to remove our sway bar link, grab a grinder, and completely cut this bracket off of the frame. There's two little sections of weld we're gonna have to grind off on both sides. Luckily, nothing's really in the way. We're gonna make sure we don't cut into the frame, but still cut enough of the bracket so we don't have to spend hours with a grinder. So we're gonna prep the area really good, removing the paint, making sure all those previous welds are ground down as smooth as possible. Gotta make sure that these are on the right side. They are side specific, so the brake line bolt up here should be pointing forward. The last thing we wanna do is weld these on the wrong side. But as you can tell, much thicker 3/16 steel opposed to this super thin factory stuff. We can kind of see now how bent up this factory bracket was. But we're gonna put this on the frame and tack weld it in place. We are going to measure from the bottom of the factory seam here, 2 1/4 from the back face of this bracket. Actually, you know what? Before we even weld this on, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the back side of this bracket. That way it's not rusting once we weld it onto the frame. Oh, should have had my helmet ready to go already. Now these frames do get pretty thin here, so we don't want to put too much heat into it, but enough to make sure it holds. Bada bing, bada boom. All we have left to do is let this cool down a little bit. We're gonna clean it up, paint it, and then we're good to just start reattaching everything. So moving up to the 3/16 steel, we shouldn't have any issues from here on out bending this bracket whatsoever. Is this a better upgrade compared to the bolt-on brackets? Who knows, but if yours is already bent, mangled up, I would say this is the better solution. Not a bad price from Barnes 4-wheel drive. I wanna say they were around 26 bucks for both of them, and this should be the last time we're gonna have to worry about this. So we'll clean it up, paint it, and move on to the next project. Well, now that I think about it, we probably should have done this next thing before we painted this nice weld-on bracket. We're gonna install a new set of Clayton off-road extended rear brake lines. So the Gladiators, with the shock mounted forward of the axle at this angle, we actually get a ton of down travel and droop. So we're running a 3.5-inch lift, some XGG shocks, and with the brake line bracket bolted in here, we actually run out of travel and the brake line gets really, really tight. So in the past, I've just been running it with this bolt off and the bracket hanging there so it can kind of give us the droop that we need. But we're gonna do it the right way now and throw on this new brake line. Red, super cool, but it's just a longer brake line. Clayton Off-Road makes some really good stuff. And we are also gonna swap over to some new sway bar end links from them as well. The driver side has a really nice bend in it, so since we're replacing that one, they come in packs of 2, we're gonna swap them out all the way around. Now, a few minutes ago, I was talking about the reinforcement brackets for this. Clayton Off-Road, I need to find out if they actually have it yet, but in development is a double shear bracket to strengthen your factory sway bar tab up here on the frame. Double shear, what that means is, instead of just the bolt passing through a single hole, it's more like a control arm mount or the shock bracket where there's 2 pass-throughs, and it really increases the strength of that. So if you are looking for a nice reinforcement plate to prevent things like this happening and having to weld on an entire new mount, I would head over to Clayton and check them out. In the meantime, we are going to change out the brake line, and hopefully I don't get brake fluid all over our nice new paint job, because it's going to eat right through it. I'm gonna grab a 12mm, go ahead and break this top fitting loose. 15mm, break our banjo bolt loose, not tighten. There we go. And pretty much get everything ready to do a quick swap. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out this little retainer clip. Slide our new one up and through, and go ahead, loop it up so we're not losing a bunch of fluid all over the ground. Snug that up, hang it to the side, and move down to our brake line on the caliper. New copper washer on the banjo bolt on both sides. Go ahead and torque the lower side down. Now I do want to go ahead and kind of see where this brake line is going to want to route. Looks like right there, facing forward, is going to be our best option. And hold it there, that way it doesn't spin around. We grab one of our new retainer clips. Now, the only downside to swapping over to some of these aftermarket brake lines is that we lose our little clips that hold our wheel speed sensor wire to our brake line. So all we have to do to remedy that is grab some zip ties, and usually just one little zip tie right in the middle does the trick. Little zip tie trick for those who don't know: if you don't want a sharp edge, don't cut the zip tie, twist the zip tie. So grab it with some pliers, the end, and just start twisting until it pops off. It kind of like melts the end, and it's nice and soft. You never have to worry about cutting it. Little trick. Now, before we go ahead and just throw in our sway bar link, we're gonna have to cut it down to size. Clayton sends them at a little bit longer of a length. That way, if you're running a 4.5-inch lift, you're good. But if you're running a little bit smaller of one, you need to cut it, make it shorter. So we're gonna kind of level out our sway bar here. I'm gonna set it just a hair up, hopefully to kind of protect it and keep it out of the rocks a little bit. But we're gonna take an eye-to-eye measurement, rough measurement. That's right, 14. I like 14. So we're gonna do 14 eye to eye. So we're gonna space the ends 14 inches apart, eye to eye, and then throw our rod in the center. And I'm gonna use the jam nuts to kind of designate how far they can go up inside of these rod ends. Right there. And right there. This is the excess that we're gonna cut off of the rods just to make it a little bit shorter. Now the jam nut is what's gonna kind of clean the threads up after we make this cut. So we can use a sawzall, grinder, bandsaw, whatever you wanna do, cut it and then unthread the rod, and it'll kind of clean and self-tap the threads. Now whenever we unscrew it, it'll be a little bit tight, but it'll go through and clean up the threads from our cut. Clayton's website does have suggested lengths in case you are curious. You can head over there depending on your lift. They'll tell you how long to cut these, how much to take off each end, but ultimately it's kind of your choice. If you want them to be extra long, leave it. If you want them to be a little bit shorter, you cut more, no big deal. So I'm gonna put the end links on, pop it on the Jeep. And just like that, the passenger side is all wrapped up. We've got to do the exact same things over on the driver's side and finish up by bleeding the brakes. But earlier on in this video, I had mentioned that this might be one of the last Gladiator videos on the channel. Cassie and I have been talking, and unfortunately, we just don't use the Gladiator as much as we used to. If we're going wheeling, more than likely, we'll probably take one of the Wranglers. And for truck stuff, we have the F-250 tow rig for this guy, so we just don't really use the Gladiator as much as we used to. Now on top of that, it's recently developed the famous 3.6 Pentastar tick and developed a misfire. So more than likely, it's the very common issue of the rockers or camshaft going bad, and it's not too bad of a fix. We could pay a shop a couple grand to fix it. You know, I think it's like 2 or 3 grand, or what I would prefer to do is fix it here in the shop, make a video of it, kind of show you guys how to do it yourselves, because I think a lot of JL owners and Gladiator owners are going to be plagued with this issue. So kind of left in a pickle here because I'm actually going on active duty orders for a little bit down in Texas with the Coast Guard. So I'm going to be gone for a few months. As the Jeep sits with the misfire, the engine is still healthy, it runs strong, it's just needing a little bit of work, throw a new cam and rockers in there, but unfortunately I don't have the time to fix it. I'm leaving in a few weeks, a little under a few weeks actually, so I can't fix it, and I don't want to pay a shop, you know, 3 grand just to turn around and sell it. I would rather post it as is, that way somebody who knows what they're doing can either fix it themselves and get a fantastic deal on a very well-built Jeep Gladiator, or my other option is to go ahead and have a shop fix it while I'm gone and then list it for a little bit higher. So I don't really know. We've done a lot of projects on this thing. It's been a fantastic Jeep. A lot of really nice upgrades, you know, 3.5-inch Clayton off-road lift, swapped over to the long arm upgrade in the front. We have hydraulic bump stops, the Apex Auto Links, full RPM aluminum steering, the Apex power steering boost kit. We got a bumper, a winch, you know, the front axles trussed, C-gussets, RCV axle shafts, chromoly rear axle shafts. Has a ton of really nice off-road goodies, and it's ready to go. It's a great Jeep with the exception of the recent engine issue. So I've been thinking of probably listing it for sale for $26,000. That way somebody can go in, either do it themselves and have a fantastic deal on a Gladiator, or they could take it to a shop, pay 2 or 3 grand and have a Gladiator that's well built for under 30 grand. I don't know. We're on the fence. There's still a decision to be made, but since I'll be gone, more than likely this will be too, because there's no reason for it to just be sitting here for months, especially since there's really no future plan to use it. One thing that was on my mind is it'd be a fantastic time to throw a Hemi in there, but once again, I have so many projects. We have so much work to do. The last thing I need to do is start an entire another project. So might be time to say goodbye to the Gladiator, but we will see. If anybody is interested, I'd rather this go to a good home. Somebody who's gonna use it, somebody who's gonna fix it and have a fantastic time with this Gladiator. If you're interested, you know, probably list it for sale as is 26. In the meantime, if anybody's interested, shoot me an email at jkgearandgadgets@gmail.com, located here in Oklahoma City. And unfortunately, I'll be leaving here shortly in a few weeks. So there's a lot to finish up, guys. I'm really hoping we can get the race Jeep put back together in time, but still waiting on brackets, still waiting on the axle. In the meantime, that is it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Like always, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I know we didn't do a lot here, but some very useful upgrades for your Gladiator for those of you who do plan on keeping it for life. I love these things. It has been a fantastic rig. First Jeep that I've ever bought brand new. Bought it back in 2019, put 80,000 miles on it. Ton of upgrades, it's been a fun project, but unfortunately, might be time to get rid of it. So we will see you later. Thanks for watching. Adios.